Guys, ChatGPT 5 just released, and it is the fastest, most impressive model that I've seen to date. But there are also some limitations: hallucinations, usage limits, removal of legacy models. It's also not full AGI. Sure, all that's true. But there are some significant improvements, again, to speed. It's more widely accessible, especially to free users. There's more integrations with stuff like Gmail and your calendar. And there's also enhanced nuance. It just gets to know you better. It's just smarter, guys. And today we're going to go into all the new features that you need to be aware of and understand how it's going to change your business. We're also going to talk about the limitations, and I'm going to share ways that I'm specifically using ChatGPT 5 to enhance my business, to work more productively, to make more money. It is unbelievable. And by the way, if you want to keep up with the latest AI news and how it's changing your world, this is the time to hit subscribe, to hit like, and to flame me in the comments. This is the time to do that. So let's first talk about the upgrades. It is up to 50% faster than previous modes. I've been watching videos of a lot of people doing different things with ChatGPT. It's just a lot faster than the previous models. In the comments here a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week, someone had mentioned that they're done with ChatGPT, it's too slow. That's essentially been solved. I've honestly thought that ChatGPT 4.0 was fast, but GPT-5 is definitely faster. It's also got what OpenAI calls unified reasoning. And what does that mean? Well, GPT-5 optimizes for speed and depth automatically. It's going to automatically understand what type of response you need. Are you looking for a quick, simple task, or does it require deeper reasoning and research? Now, in the past, this was pretty complicated. You had to decide, do I do 4.0? Do I use GPT 03 Mini or Nano or 04 Mini, or do I use deep reasoning model? And it was really complicated and kind of annoying to try to figure out which exact GPT model you needed to use. Now, when you log into ChatGPT, it's just going to take you straight to GPT-5, so you don't need to kind of like think and select which is the correct version for your need. GPT-5 is just going to understand better. All right. It's just much more intuitive. And when you start asking it questions, it's going to, again, immediately have a better understanding of what you want and what the purpose of the prompt is. But it's also going to ask additional questions, clarifying questions. So if it's not sure, it's going to ask, well, what is this purpose? What do you need this for? It's just going to give you, it's going to understand you better, more like an assistant. Do you ever have someone that you've worked with before and you've given them a task and they just go out and the next day they bring it back and it's just wrong? GPT-5 isn't going to do that. And that person, you're wishing like, damn, I wish this person would have asked me a couple questions before they went and wasted time, money, and resources just to get me the wrong thing. GPT-5 is going to be better at clarifying and understanding what you need. It's also worth noting that it's just more beautiful to look at. There's different color schemes, different hex codes. It just has a much better looking interface just on the front end. But you can also just create some insane stuff, guys. You know, if you're not familiar with vibe coding, it is, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And I'm going to give you a quick example of how you can use this when you stop your car or when you finish your workout. Try this out because this is pretty crazy. You can go into ChatGPT and you can ask it to, for example, build a Tetris game in Canvas. Just ask it to do that. And what it's going to do is it's going to write a bunch of line of code and it's going to give you a fully functional game. I was watching this. I'm going to try this with my kids when they get home from grandparents camp later today. That's when the grandparents pick up the kids and hang out with them for a week. So when the kids get back, we're going to say, hey, make a ChatGPT in Canvas, make me a checkers game, but use Pokemon characters instead of the checker pieces. And it will do that for you almost instantly. It will write hundreds of lines of code almost instantly and give you a usable game. Again, this is one of those things that once you've seen it and experienced it, you realize that the world will never be the same. And just to all the haters out there, I just don't get it. I don't understand why everyone keeps saying that AI is a scam. In fact, I recorded an entire video about this. I'm going to share a link to it here. But there's so many people out there that just say AI is a scam, it doesn't change anything, it's all smoke and mirrors, this is NFTs 2.0. Guys, go into ChatGPT 5, ask it to create a game or a video or a demonstration or a display in Canvas, and you will be shocked. You will be shocked. you can ask it all kinds of things. During the GPT-5 demo, one of the AI researchers asked it to prove an engineering principle via video, and it was something about, I don't remember the exact scientific principle that it was proving, but it was essentially showing like how when the wing of an airplane moves up and down, how that impacts the trajectory. Anyway, it was unbelievable what was possible. And again, after you finish your work, after you finish this video, just go to ChatGPT 5 and ask it to create a Tetris game in Canvas and just watch the magic happen. Within a couple minutes, you're gonna have a fully playable game. Again, once you've seen this, you can't unsee it, and you will realize that the world will never be the same again. And by the way, that's not maybe the most practical example for you. I think it's a cool exercise. At the end of the video here, I'm gonna share a bunch of practical ways that I'm using ChatGPT to grow my business and help clients scale their businesses. So you can just wait till the end, and I'm gonna share about 5 or 6 different ways that I'm personally using ChatGPT. The other thing that I think is a big upgrade from GPT-5 is it's offering much higher intelligence across various domains like math, science, finance, law, and health. Sam Altman, during the live demo, put a huge emphasis on health, explaining that more and more people are using ChatGPT almost as like a doctor or a physician's assistant. It is unbelievable. And, in the past, when you go to WebMD and ask questions, the problem that WebMD has is it doesn't have the full context. You can't have conversations with it dynamically. And during the demo, he brought on a couple and the wife had been suffering from cancer. And she had expressed that using ChatGPT as an assistant or as almost like a PhD in your pocket. That's why they position it. It's a PhD in your pocket. She was able to ask extremely nuanced questions and get extremely efficient answers. And in fact, I'm going to share a link to an X post here that I posted on X. I'm going to share a link to this X post here. I was watching this video of a doctor, a San Francisco doctor, who said that he sees the writing on the wall here, because when he's having conversations with his patients now, they are coming in with extremely technical questions. And he said, some of these, I've never gotten questions this nuanced or advanced before. And I think that's where health is going, guys. If you have a problem, like maybe you suffer from headaches, for example, ask ChatGPT. I'm getting headaches twice a week. This is what's happening. This is the medicine I'm taking. What other alternatives are there? Let's look at my diet, and it will walk you through all the different kind of nuanced questions. It is literally a PhD in your pocket. Now, I'm not saying that whatever ChatGPT tells you to do, you do. There was an example about a year ago where Google Gemini was encouraging people to put glue on their pizza in order to get the cheese to stick. You don't want to do that. Don't sacrifice your critical thinking. But at the same time, leverage this tool as a way to stay more well-informed. So when you go in to meet your doctor for that headache problem, you have some very sophisticated, specific, contextual questions with which to bounce. And I believe this is going to lead to a dramatic increase in health outcomes as long as these AI models are speaking truth and understand. And this brings up another interesting idea in that, and I was listening to this on the All In podcast the other day. I'll actually share a link to the podcast here because I think it was very interesting. I'll share a link to this All In episode. But essentially what they were saying is these AI models are able to pass medical licensing exams. They're able to pass some of the most complicated math exams and physics exams in the world. So is there a future where some AI models end up getting certain certifications or not necessarily degrees, but certain licenses and certifications so that, when you're using it, you're getting premium advice. And I thought it was a really interesting way to look at the way that we're leveraging AI to improve our personal health. So anyway, GPT-5, they put a huge emphasis on this, on personal health and creating a PhD in your pocket. And gosh, I don't want to go fully down the rabbit hole on this, but you can start to see a world where, doctors are much more efficient. They're able to see way more patients, and then patients are much more well informed. Because let's face it, doctors are humans. They don't know everything. Sure, they went to medical school. Sure, they're going to be an expert in their field, and that's true. But at the same time, they get things wrong. And having a PhD level assistant in your pocket to double check, to ask better questions, is going to really empower you to take better control of your health, your finances, your legal issues, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, personalities. This is another new feature, which is not entirely new, but it is new. They've included 4 personalities by default: the cynic, the robot, the listener, and the nerd. And they're going to apply more of these. There's going to be more customizations over time. But essentially what you can do is you can use ChatGPT for different purposes and have a different chat based on what you need. And I'll give you an example of this. Sometimes when I'm speaking to my wife, she'll start telling me her problems. I know, guys, this is crazy, right? Your wife telling you problems. Does that happen to you? It happens to me. So she'll be explaining her problems, and I need to determine what type of mode I need to be in. Am I in listener mode, or am I in fix-it mode? And as a man, by default, I go into fix-it mode, and I start saying, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? What do you think about this idea? And then she'll say, I wasn't looking for solutions. I was just looking to vent. And I think that's a pretty good example of what this GPT model can do. You can say, hey, do I just need a listener, or do I really want you to solve? Are you in solve it mode, or are you in listener mode? All the guys out there, if you've got a wife or a girlfriend, or if you've dealt with this, heck, all the females out there too. But if you're a guy and you've dealt with this before, type it in the comments. Have you run into this problem before where your wife doesn't want you to solve the problem? She just wants you to listen to her problems. I sometimes struggle with that. And now GPT-5 has that kind of model in place. So for some of the boring stuff here, there's an expanded context window. You're going to get 256,000 tokens up from a previous 200,000. So what does that mean? Better results more quickly. It's going to be able to process more quickly. And this does raise the need for more data, more GPUs, more energy, more cooling. This is just going to be what's necessary. And big companies are creating huge data centers. I've referenced this video a few times. I'll post a link to it here. But Meta is building a massive $10 billion GPU processing plant in Louisiana. It's called Hyperion. It is the size of Manhattan. It is insane what they're doing. Go check out that video. I think you'll find it interesting what Meta is doing. But they're not the only ones. Microsoft, Google, they're all building these huge data centers all over the country, which again is going to lead towards more processing power, more efficient AI. I know a lot of people, you may have had a bad experience with AI in the past. It didn't give you a very good result. But with expanded context windows, with more tokens, with more power, means better results. Okay. There are going to be reduced hallucinations. And hallucinations are essentially where the AI goes crazy and it tells you stuff that just doesn't make any sense. It starts, in general, what an LLM does is it's a predictive tech mechanism, and it determines based on the previous text, this is what the likely next word or output should be. And sometimes it'll just come up with some wild stuff. It'll start hallucinating. Well, they've reduced that from a 4.8% in previous models like O3 to 2.1% in GPT-5. So we'll see. Listen, it's still going to hallucinate. Don't lose the critical thinking that you have. I probably need to record a video on this because there are some reports that ChatGPT and AI are making people legitimately retarded because whatever the GPT says. There was another incident that happened about a year ago where, I can't remember the exact context, but basically Google Gemini told this guy to eat rocks. Like, you don't lose your critical thinking, because if you just take whatever ChatGPT says and you go with it, you're going to be in for a bad time. They've also reduced deception and inaccurate information, which again goes to the idea of reduced hallucinations, better responses, better context, understands you better. All really important stuff. There are going to be more safe completions. So one of the examples that they shared, so in the past, if you've used ChatGPT, you might have asked it a question, right? So for example, maybe you're trying to light off fireworks and you want to know how to do it safely. You might, it's 4th of July and you say, hey, ChatGPT, how do I set up and light off my pyrotechnics? And it would say something like, I'm sorry, I cannot complete that request. It's too dangerous or something. Well, now it's still to an extent not going to tell you how to carry out terrorist activities. Like, it's not going to teach you how to make a bioweapon, for example. But some items like fireworks, you could use pyrotechnics for bad, or you could use pyrotechnics for good, okay? So what it will do instead is, instead of giving you the straight answer, it'll give you more ideas on how to solve that problem. And an example they gave during the demo from OpenAI was the ChatGPT explained, well, I can't give you that answer offhand, but I would suggest going to this resource for instructions. Make sure that you read the directions that come with your pyrotechnics setup. So again, it's still going to be helpful, but it's not going to straight up give you the ability to carry out terrorist activities. Okay, so a couple of limitations that I think are interesting. I woke up this morning and someone was complaining that they had used up all their ChatGPT usage for the month. Okay, and ChatGPT 5 has tiered usage, and again, it's free, but you're going to have limited token access, so you might run out of tokens pretty quickly. There's a much higher limit for Plus. To my knowledge, they haven't expressed exactly how much. I've read different numbers, but I don't want to report them because I'm not 100% clear on that. Regardless, if you're a Plus user, you're going to get a lot more access. That's $20 a month, and for $200, you're essentially getting unlimited at the Pro limit. And then of course there's Enterprise after that. Now, after you've run out of your tokens and after you've run out of your usage, it's going to downgrade you to a mini version, which is still going to be good. It's just not going to be as good. And one of the things that had been noted, I'm going to give a shout out to Jerry here in the comments, because Jerry watches the videos and likes to question a lot of things that I do, which, by the way, Jerry, I appreciate. And guys, if you think that I get a statistic wrong, or if you think that I say something that's not factually correct, please let me know. I want to know that so I can issue corrections. I issue corrections in the descriptions and sometimes in the pinned comments. By the way, if you leave a really good pinned comment, that's data-driven, that's intelligent, I will remove my newsletter link as the pinned comment. I will pin your comment. I've done it in the past. I'll do it in the future. Because the reality is, what I really want on this channel is to make sure that you're getting the best information to make the most informed decisions so that you can stay relevant, respected, and financially free in a very, very rapidly changing world, because AI truly does change everything. So in any event, Jerry the other day had made a comment that ChatGPT is not profitable, they're just wasting money, and that this stuff isn't going anywhere. Well, I don't know the exact, to be honest, I don't know the exact profits that ChatGPT is bringing in. Obviously, they're spending billions and billions of dollars, and they're making billions and billions of dollars in revenue. I don't know what their exact profit margin is. You know, with a lot of startups, what you're doing is you're spending a lot of money on the front end with hopes that it will become very profitable in the back end. But what they're doing here, and this is pretty obvious, is that they're incentivizing people. They're getting people addicted on ChatGPT. So when you run out of your free tokens, you're like, okay, now I'm going to spend $20 a month, which is essentially a cup of coffee or 2 cups of coffee, depending, cup of coffee, 2 cups of coffee, whatever. It's $20 a month for one of the most powerful tools in human history in your pocket. It's worth it, in my opinion. I use it. In any event, when you get to a point where you're out of tokens, you might use that to upgrade. But the other way that ChatGPT is really, really investing is they want to be integrated into every system. And ChatGPT just this past week offered $1 for enterprise usage for the federal government. So they're wanting federal agencies to become reliant on ChatGPT and all their inner structures. And guys, this is pretty common in SaaS in general. If you're not familiar, I have a client that uses a SaaS software. I'm not going to name the software here, is a CRM. But what they do is they get you in at a cheaper rate. And then over time, once you've integrated more automations, more standard operating procedures into your business, more funnels, more integrations, all that stuff, what they end up doing is saying, okay, thanks for being a member with us. Now we're going to jack the rate up on you, and you can negotiate accordingly. But that's essentially what they're doing here. They want to ChatGPT wants to infuse their software across the board into your life, into your business's life, into government life, into big enterprise. They just inked a huge deal with the DoD. I think it was a $200 million deal with the Department of Defense. But you can see where they're going there. And will it pay off? I don't know. We'll see. But reality is that ChatGPT is incredibly, incredibly useful. I'm using it all the time. And what I'd like to do is kind of share some specific ways that I'm using it for everyone out there that says that it's a hoax or it's not that great. I'm gonna share some ways that I'm using it here. And by the way, guys, there's so much news that's coming out. I can't cover everything in these quick videos, these quick daily videos. So if you really want to keep up to date with all the different things I'm thinking about or watching or programs that I'm working on, you can get them all at aiupdate.ai. It's a free newsletter. It's totally free. It just gives you more access to the news that's relevant to you. So go to aiupdate.ai and you can snag that news. Okay, I'll see you over there. So let's talk about how I'm specifically using it. One of the most common ways that I'm using it, and I'm going to start with like the most basic, and I'm going to work up to the more advanced but more useful here. Okay, so one of the ways that I'm using it is for list building. I just love using ChatGPT for brainstorming and list building. If I'm ever stuck, if I don't know what to do, I use it for list building, and it is awesome. It saves me so much time, guys. And by the way, the better you are at programming and setting up your ChatGPT, the better your list will be, because ChatGPT has a great moat around it called memory. And the more you use ChatGPT, the better you've programmed ChatGPT, the better your results will be. And so I spend a lot of time making sure that its memories about me are accurate. I go in there and tweak it to make sure that its memories about me are correct. I make sure I'm uploading the right documents. I'm not going to go too deep into that in this video, maybe in a future video. Regardless, list building is fantastic, and I love that. Image generation is also excellent. You could say, well, Mark, there's other platforms that are better. You could use Midjourney, or you could use Ideogram. There's all sorts of image generation tools out there. ChatGPT for image generation is really solid, and it's just really easy to use. Again, it has all my memories, so I just find it a great tool for that. Love it for research, and one of the ways that I create these videos is by using ChatGPT, by using Grok, by reading reports from platforms like CNBC or Reuters or Yahoo Finance, etc., to see what's happening in the world. But ChatGPT does a really good job of bringing all those ideas together. I will note, though, that in past models, and we'll see how it works out with ChatGPT 5, that a lot of times it will give bad data or bad information. So I'm being very careful to corroborate data. And then again, if people in the comments question or correct, I won't issue corrections in the description of the video. But it sometimes gets things wrong. It sometimes makes up numbers, or sometimes, this is another thing that I found, is that sometimes it will reference a website that was generated, that you can tell is fully generated with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is recommending a website that was fully written and referenced and researched by ChatGPT. So it kind of creates this weird knowledge loop that isn't as effective. So I am as careful and cautious as possible to make sure that the data that I'm getting and bringing and sharing in these videos is accurate. It does take a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to do that. I'll explain here in my last example one of the ways I'm looking to offset that time cost. So research, copywriting, emails, blogs, outlines. Love it for copywriting. It is really good. I do not like to just copy and paste, but I find that ChatGPT can be about 80 to 95% of the way there just on its own. And again, if you're properly programming your ChatGPT with the correct memories and SOPs and first-party data, you're able to get a better response, I found. Data analysis, it is unbelievable for data analysis, guys. And if you're a data analyst out there, you probably are already aware of this, but charts, tables, spreadsheets, upload a bunch of them, upload one of them, ask ChatGPT to review it, to assess it, to look for threats, weaknesses, opportunities, strengths, look for trends. It is amazing what it's able to do. I'll give you a personal example. There were a couple of weeks ago with one of the companies I'm working for, the IT guy sent over a chart that I didn't understand. There was data on there I didn't understand. I didn't understand what it was trying to resolve. So what did I do? Well, I was about to message him back, and I was about to hit send on a message I was going to send back to him to say, hey, what exactly am I looking at here? What is the trends, And instead of sending that off, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a screenshot of this chart, and I'm going to upload it to ChatGPT. ChatGPT analyzed it, assessed it, gave me insanely valuable feedback, guys. I use ChatGPT a lot, but I was shocked at how effective this tool was at reading this chart. It was unbelievable. So instead of sending a message to the CTO saying, what am I looking at here? I was saying, oh, this is interesting. This is what I see here. This is what I see. What do you think about this? This is a way that we might be able to improve that. It was able to be an incredibly powerful data assistant. Now, again, you want to be careful sharing personal or sensitive information to ChatGPT. What you put on ChatGPT, you need to assume might become public information at one time, at some time or another. There are ways to get around this, but I'm still a little bit leery. Regardless, if you have a chart or graph that you need looked at, ChatGPT is a really great assistant. You just might want to keep some of the data anonymous when you use that. And then one of the last ways that I'm using this, and this is something that I just think is absolutely spectacular. Guys, by the way, one of the joys of my life is having people I can talk to about this stuff. Because when I'm at home with my wife at night and we're kind of talking about our days, and I start going on about AI, she's like, Mark, I don't want to talk about AI. You know what I'm saying? If I'm at a party, if I'm at the pool, please believe if you come up to me, I will be talking about AI. It's just like consumes my mind. I am obsessed. And having a place where I can talk about this stuff is just such a joy. Researching it, reading it, playing with the tools, sharing them here, sharing them on the AI Update.ai newsletter is immensely satisfying to me. However, it does take a lot of time. And frankly, I'd like to spend more time doing it. I'd like to spend basically all my time doing it. The problem is that I have bills to pay. I have a family to support. I have obligations. I'm a father. I got 2 kids. I got a house. I got a wife. So I'm trying to find more ways to monetize what I'm doing, okay? And one of the most obvious ways to do that is through sponsorships and strategic partners. So you're gonna love this idea, guys. Yesterday I used ChatGPT's agent mode, and I popped it open. And I said, hey, this is what my channel's about. I just shared a link to my channel. I gave it key data points, key metrics. By the way, the channel is exploding. And if you're new here, thank you for being here. Gave it all these key metrics, from watch time to viewer count to trends to the demographics, who people are, where people live. Now, I'm not going to go into the side note of all the data analytics, but I did go through all that stuff in this video. I did a live video at the end of July where I kind of just popped open the back end of my YouTube and shared all that. You can watch that video here if you're interested. But what I did is I gave it all that information, and I said, hey, ChatGPT agent, I want you to find the most aligned companies and businesses that would be aligned with my audience and would be interested in sponsoring. And I want you to find their contact information. I want you to write out then I want you to open up my Gmail account. I want you to write out email pitches to all these different vendors, specific and customized to them, to their needs, and how there might be a good overlap in the value that I can bring. And I want you to add that email to draft. I gave it access to my Gmail account. I came back about an hour later. Guys, there were 50 email drafts sitting there in my email outbox, ready to go. Do you know how much time it would have taken me to research the correct emails, PR@company.com, press at partnerships@company.com, all these different emails that are super specific. And quite frankly, I haven't pressed go on them yet because it needs a little bit of formatting. But the point I'm trying to make is it was able to scrape the web, find the emails, write the emails, get it all ready to go so I can just push play. And when you start to experiment with AI agents and what ChatGPT 5 is able to do, you're not gonna look at the world the same way that you were before. And it is shocking. It is shocking. Well, look, guys, thanks for subscribing and watching this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I really appreciate you. And if you weren't aware, this is not just a small issue. This is not just impacting a few people. This is impacting everybody. Yesterday, I talked about this at length with what Walmart is doing. They have laid off hundreds and hundreds of employees, not on the floor level so much. It's a lot in the warehouses. There's a lot of robots in the warehouses now, but specifically in their administrative capabilities in office. So all those white collar jobs are being outsourced now, guys. Go check out yesterday's video. I think you're really gonna like it, and I'll see you there. Peace.